Our African campaign is going well, but our Egyptian fortifications have been weakened by GDI attacks from the Nile. One of our bases is under fire, and I need you to reinforce and rebuild. Remove the GDI presence from this region once and for all. Towards that end, we have developed a new weapon you may find useful. It's your move.
Yes, sir. I'm on it.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Welcome back, Commander, to another long episode.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yo, you got it. Yes, sir. I'm on it. Yes, sir. I'm on it. Yes, sir. You got it. I'm on it. No problem. Yeah, keep I'm on coming. It. Yo, no problem. I'm on it. You got it.
So, unfortunately for me, I did several attempts at this mission.
I'm on it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you got it.
challenging, to say the least.
Yes, sir. You got it. Yes, sir. I'm on it. No
In fact,
problem.
I think I may have beaten this level in like the hardest way possible,
Keep 'em coming. I'm on it.
as like a mixture of incompetence and just still trying to wrap my head around such an older style of real-time strategy
Yeah,
game.
I'm on it. You got it.
So first things first,
Yes, sir.
we
You
should
got it.
definitely mention the fact that we have a Commando.
Yes, sir. I'm on it.
Commando is
Yo, you got it.
just about the best infantry in the game, bar none.
No problem.
He moves very quickly, probably about as quick as a grenadier, if not, just a little bit slower. Very good range. All his attacks one-shot infantry.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
The only thing he has any trouble with is vehicles.
Yo, no problem.
Later games will change this sort of function, but we'll see that much later. So the Commando has one special ability,
I'm on it.
and that is that he can infiltrate into buildings and blow them up with C4.
Yes, sir. I'm on
There's
it.
a bit of an issue with that ability,
Yes, affirmative. Acknowledged.
but I don't think I get to demo it in this video.
Unit
Reporting.
lost.
You got it. Affirmative.
Yo, you got it. Yeah, you got it.
So this mission went wrong already in a couple ways. First was losing a rocket soldier to the buggy. I really should have moved anybody, especially the guy obviously being damaged, away so that might survive. Secondly was losing a second rocket soldier
I'm on it.
to the infantry that basically bailed out of the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
I should have had the Commando closer, that way he could have shot it automatically and maybe saved myself a little bit of extra headache.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Moving out.
That being said, it seems that we have to go to the upper right. Everything we've seen so far in the mission kind of directs us that way. So, stands to reason that we should check it out. Unfortunately, it's very hard for us to ever break through because of the fact that there's so many guard towers. I had totally forgotten about the S hotkey being stop, so obviously I take quite a bit of damage to my units, to my only good anti-air units so far, from that one orca.
Yes, sir. You got a present for me, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
So obviously, if you're playing this
Affirmative.
for whatever reason, don't do what I just did, which is send a commando after a defensive building. It's not going to go well. Another thing you should probably refrain from doing is, so you have these two engineers, and you kind of figure they're probably garbage units. I'm going to explore with them, because if I'm going to be in a dead man walking scenario, I might as well you know, scout the map and see what's available. Are there units I could discover, or, you know, places I could attack that
Yes, sir. You got it.
would give me better opportunities.
Yes, sir.
So for whatever reason, the AI decides it doesn't want to shoot at one of my engineers. I figured it's either a glitch in programming, or that AI isn't told to like attack.
Ready and
I
waiting.
don't know.
Lost.
Unfortunately, nobody else got the memo,
Construction
so I
options.
kind of just threw away an engineer. And all of a sudden, I find an old base. Like, I know it's mentioned in the briefing, but you're not given an idea as to where it is.
Affirmative.
Kind of one of the reasons why it's helpful to, like, kind of pan around the map as early as you can, just to see.
Reporting. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Right away, sir. Moving out.
I don't know what caused this medium tank to just, like, choose a different target. Like, he suddenly decided he wants to go away now.
Captured. Building.
Here's a good example as to why having no power, like how it affects your build. If I scroll down, eventually, you'll notice that the airstrip has like barely anything built for it.
Unit reporting. Knowledge.
Yeah. Like, I have the funds, but they're trickling in very, very slowly. So it seems to be a function of,
Building.
I guess, if you're at like a really low power rather than just low power. I don't know. There's something going on there.
Unit reporting.
Or maybe it's some weird thing where in this game, if it's low power, then it only affects the buildings.
Options.
I don't know. I'll try looking into it just to get a better idea as to what's going on.
Construction complete.
So we can already see that GDI is sending out some units against us.
Building.
Now it's possible that those units won't necessarily go straight to our base, but I mean, what else is the AI gonna do? This causes some problems because
Ready.
I don't really have anything to defend with anymore.
Building.
Commando's gone.
Captured.
I don't have anything for
Building.
air forces, so thankfully the orcas never, come and attack my base.
Ready and waiting. Ready and waiting.
Building.
Yes. Yes, right away, sir.
Mercy is for the weak.
Unit ready.
So obviously, for Nod, the next best thing is the flamethrower soldier.
My secret weapon!
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Mercy.
Honestly, flamethrower guys are probably the, I want to say one of the best, if not the best, anti-personnel like unit the Nod could employ, like especially for defense.
Affirmative. Waiting. Affirmative. Yes, got it.
Like, they're super cost efficient, they're very quick.
Reporting. Moving out.
You lose one, it's not that big a deal.
Moving out.
There's no like
Yes.
added cost to them.
Ready and
Our
waiting.
base is under
Waiting on
attack.
a
Although that
Construction
absolutely sucks, and I hate the fact that the AI gets the airstrike like right off the bat and will not hesitate using it.
Yes. Reporting. Yes, yes, sir. Reporting. Right away, sir. Moving out. Ready. You got it. Ready and wait. Yes, 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 sir.
Mercy.
Anyways, we can see the efficacy of the flamethrower guys.
Knowledge. Moving out. Affirmative.
Mercy.
Another thing that sucks is, well, AI is really good at squishing people.
Right away, sir.
Mercy.
Building. On hold. Cancel. Building.
Like, let's look at it this way. The only thing I can do right now is defend, obviously. And the only thing I can really defend with are turrets. Like, Nod doesn't have another defensive structure other than the SAM site. So, and the turret's absolute garbage against infantry, so.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Roger. Yes, sir. Reporting. Reporting. Moving out. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Ready and away, sir.
So again, at the top right, you can see GDIs launching more guys at me. And they've got quite a nice defensive setup, to be honest. 2 advanced guard towers can absolutely mulch any sort of offensive force.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Ready. Yes, sir.
Lost.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Unit lost.
Waiting out. Moving out. Affirmative.
Did I ever mention how much I hate grenadiers?
Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Not a problem. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Roger. Moving out.
Here I'm just looking to make sure that GDI is not sending a bunch of guys,
Under attack.
because I'm probably better off selling that turret. I know I keep repairing it a little bit, but
Reporting.
at
Affirmative.
some point I might just sell it off.
You got it. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out.
It's usually the smarter thing to do rather than repair,
Construction complete.
um,
Cannot
just with how frequently the AI likes sending out attack parties.
Building.
Like, at least recoup, some costs.
Unit ready.
You got it. You got it. Not a problem. Reporting.
Building.
Acknowledged, sir. Right away, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Awaiting order. Moving out.
Building. Cancelled.
I
Building.
know recently I got to talking about sandbags and how you can
Ready.
kind of build a line of sandbags and then build off the sandbags because they're considered your base and the adjacent stuff.
Building.
So in levels not specifically like this, but in levels similar to this, you can kind of channel the enemy to go a certain direction,
Yes, sir. Moving out.
which is
Report affirmative.
a little helpful.
Yes, yes.
For example, there's obviously 2-3 ways to get to my base. The first being the way that I went up with the Commandos. There's the path through the Tiberium. I'm pointing at my screen as if this makes a difference. And then there's kind of a path in between. Now, if you were to block off both the right paths, the AI would obviously be funneled in through the Tiberium patch. That's not an issue for vehicles, but it can get you just that extra bit of damage on infantry for them to be
Construction
at least
complete.
less of a nuisance.
Building.
I think this level might be like the first time I actually get to show off like SAM site's doing anything. It's sadly more of a placebo effect than anything else.
Cannot deploy
And there's,
New construction.
I guess, two main reasons for it. Right there is a really good example. So the SAM site takes a long time to shoot because it has to actually deploy out of its
Building.
like underground position. The underground position, I guess I'll call it whatever. That initial stance actually causes it to receive less damage, which is fine and all. Like if you're being attacked by infantry or whatever, then at least you know it's more survivable when it's not doing anything. But at the same time, like it still needs to deploy to attack air units.
Construction
So
complete.
that 2-second time loss is huge because A10s actually move quickly, as you guys have seen multiple times.
Building.
And once they're gone, they're gone. Like you're not, it's a fleeting opportunity to down them. On top of that, what makes it even worse is that A10s they're not invincible. However, they effectively have a new health bar every time they show up. So you can destroy an A10
Complete.
at on minute 7, and it'll come back on the next A10 strike. Say 7 minutes
Unable
later.
to comply. Building in progress. Construction complete. Unable to comply. Building in progress. Unable to comply.
Vehicle
Building in
reporting.
progress.
Acknowledged.
Unable to comply. Building in progress. Construction complete.
Acknowledged.
Earlier I was checking all the walls to see if I could sell them.
Building.
It's
Yes, sir.
like a easy freebie of at least a little bit of money if the walls happen to be attributed to you. Because walls obviously are buildings, buildings can be sold, especially through that bug with the sandbags that somebody pointed out in the thread. It's just one of those things where you can kind of game the system just a little bit.
Construction complete.
Yes,
Building.
I believe in future games they'll be set to your team or neutral, just so that you don't provide line of sight,
Yes, sir.
but not 100% sure on that. And hopefully someone will remind me in like 3 years when I get to those games.
Our base is under attack.
So if it's not enough that you start with a limited force, you have to capture your base to actually fight. You then have to fight an uphill battle against an already developed enemy base
Building.
who have kind of like the tech advantage. Like, we're still stuck with light tanks, so it's not like we have anything that'll decisively beat a medium tank. You have to go with the numbers game. So on top of that, they have a gunboat that just patrols from left to right. Now, I'll be 100% honest, I'm not sure if that boat is supposed to attack at all
Yes,
times.
sir. Moving out.
Construction complete.
Again, I feel like maybe it's a glitch or something. Older games like this, it's hard
Yes, sir.
for me to tell if it's by design or not.
Vehicle reporting.
And not necessarily because it's an old game,
Yes, acknowledged.
more specifically because it's an old game that's been
Construction
patched,
complete.
as recently as, say, like 2010 or whatever. It's probably not the exact date, but
Reinforcements
point is that
have
like
arrived.
15 years or even 23 years after the game's initial release, and it's still got some support to it. It's, amazing for one, and
Waiting order. Yes, sir.
can sometimes give complications at other points.
Vehicle reporting.
So I figured best way to not have to worry about a gunboat anymore is I'll just build a couple turrets, have them soak up damage, and just shoot at whenever it decides to show its face.
Unit moving out.
As for the GDI base,
Reporting.
I can try one of two things. And we've kind of seen both already at play.
Reinforcements
First
have
is I
arrived.
can either
Building.
build up a force, try to get something I can work with, and attack from the front. It's not really a smart idea, but hey, brute force works sometimes.
Moving out.
Or I can take my units,
Building.
try to smuggle them in somehow,
Yes, sir. Moving
and
out.
take the base out from the inside. Preferably not by capturing and taking like 20 extra minutes, but hey, we're already at like minute 17 or 20 or whatever, and still got a ways to go.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Moving out. Unit reporting. Vehicle.
Construction complete.
Unit reporting. Acknowledged.
Reinforcements have arrived.
So again, there's another example. Sam Site gets one shot,
Yes, sir.
doesn't do anything, and the A-10s are already off the map.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
This also is an issue with orcas, although you don't really get to see it because so far, as we've seen anyways, orcas have almost exclusively been used for defensive means only. So, there's nothing really you can do against them if they're not in range of SAM sites in the first place.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unit.
Our base is under
Unit
attack.
moving out. Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Unit acknowledged.
Construction
Yes, sir.
complete. Building.
Yes, affirmative. Moving out.
Another thing that sucks about the turret,
Reinforcements.
since I might as well talk about like disparity of units and whatnot, the turret has to rotate,
Yes, sir.
and as far as I recall, there's absolutely no way of like
Waiting.
producing a building so it faces a particular way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's just like the standard.
Yes,
So
affirmative.
have fun with a turret that has to rotate its its gun every time it tries to shoot at something below it.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Moving out. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Construction complete. Building.
Unit, yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Yes, moving out. Unit
Reinforcements have
acknowledged.
arrived.
Moving out.
So here's the positive side of having a lot of light tanks.
Unit lost.
You get to squish people a lot. Problem is that it's hard to repair units in this game. I don't think I've made mention of the service depot yet. So service depot, big gray circle surrounded by like a pad of sorts. All you have to do is drive a vehicle onto it. There's kind of like a infiltrate button. There you go. So a vehicle takes a while to get back to the service depot, but once it gets there and you have funds, the service depot will work its magic and repair the vehicle in question. Could be anything as long as it's a vehicle. So it doesn't matter if it's a harvester, a buggy, whatever. So vehicle goes on there and it'll repair, cost of funds, etc. Thankfully, a service depot repairs at like half the total cost,
Waiting. Yes, sir.
maybe even like more of a reduction to a unit's total cost. So, say a light tank is $700, you might be able to repair it with only 200, and that's like a full repair almost.
Moving out.
There's like I'll look up the ratio and I'll try to post it in the thread. It's really good, basically. So, like always invest in a service depot if you know you're going to go vehicles. The only issue is that one, service depots cost a bunch of money. It's $1,200.
Acknowledged.
Like sometimes it's just better to buy a tank
Moving out.
or two almost.
Moving out. Affirmative.
And on top of that, service depots like they still take a while to repair whatever vehicles in there. So
Construction complete.
like it's more of I guess a play-style choice. Personally, I'm take it or leave it kind of guy. I don't really mind either way.
Affirmative. Unit reporting. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Unit moving out. Moving out. Vehicle reporting.
Construction complete. Low power.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
Building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unit
So
report. Yes,
thankfully, there's 2 regenerating Tiberium fields in this level, which gives me a
Construction complete.
really good economic base to work with, and light tanks are super cheap, so having like this much income at a I guess semi-consistent rate is really going to allow me to flood the map with as many units as I can make.
Ready and waiting.
Like I'm already at 2k funds and I just need something to spend it on, really.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out.
Building.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Moving out. Moving out.
Reinforcements have
Vehicle
arrived.
reporting. Affirmative.
Building. Construction
Affirmative.
complete.
Moving out.
Reinforcements
Yes,
have
sir.
arrived. Our
Yes,
base
sir.
is under attack.
Vehicle reporting. Moving out.
Silos needed.
So the only reason I'm building not buggies at all
Construction
is,
complete.
I mean, basically just because light tanks are crap against infantry, so...
Vehicle reporting.
Building. Construction complete. Building. Reinforcements have
Moving
arrived.
out. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Like, it's probably an obvious distinction one should make if playing real-time strategy games, which is diversify your attack force, or defense, and anything really.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Yes. Moving out. Vehicle. Yes, yes.
Construction complete. Building. Reinforcements have
Yes, sir.
arrived.
Affirmative.
Construction
Yes.
complete.
Affirmative.
Building. Reinforcements have
Yes,
arrived.
sir. Moving out.
Construction complete. Reinforcements have arrived.
Moving out.
Building.
Yes. Moving out. Moving out.
Construction complete.
Yeah, sometimes the AI isn't great at, like, target distinction, so... you get to have a couple units just run by and take up a bunch of damage.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir.
Building. Construction complete.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Moving out. Yes, sir. Waiting.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Building. Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Yes. Moving out.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Oh, I guess I should also make mention that in the briefing, Kane said he had a new toy. That's the flame tank. I believe I need the communication center to actually build it.
Unable to comply.
Oops.
Unable to comply.
Probably something I should have done.
Unit
I guess I was just bitter at something. I don't know. I really don't know why I didn't build this map. In any case, flame tanks are actually really good in this game. It's got like decent armor, I guess.
building.
I haven't checked the value, but it's obviously more of a anti-personnel vehicle than anti-vehicle. That being said, it's no slouch against buildings. It's actually like really good against buildings. So, if you ever find yourself in need of breaking a tough defense, about like 3 or 4 flame tanks, that'll crack a hard nut.
Construction complete.
Moving out.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Moving out. Acknowledged. Moving out. Unit.
I might actually be at a point where the AI is like critically low of funds.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
It doesn't seem to be able to offer much in terms of an attack or defensive force.
Yes, sir.
Like right now, all we're basically seeing is infantry. We can see the silos are empty, so it's kind of another indicator that they're running low on funds.
Yes. Reporting.
Unit
Yes.
lost.
Yes.
What does suck though is, well,
Building.
basically this current situation.
Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Moving out.
Construction
They still, have just enough funds or enough units to cause me too many issues.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
Construction complete.
Thankfully, though, I'm swimming in
Reinforcements
money,
have
so
arrived. Unable to comply. Building in progress. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
Reinforcements have arrived. Building.
I should also mention that unlike guard towers, advanced watchtowers actually require power. So it wasn't something I realized at the time, just because I didn't really experiment.
Unit affirmative.
Like it basically took me this mission until I realized they needed power. But I won't actually figure this out until I destroy the power because, well, there's still enough to feed whatever's in this base.
Reporting. Moving out. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Affirmative.
So for now, we're going to do the same tactic, sneak in through the hole we already made.
Moving out. Yes, moving out. Yes.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Yes. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Unit reporting. Yes, sir.
Another thing that really sucks is whenever you're fighting AI, it can sometimes get really good at selling stuff but right before you blow it up. Which means it's getting its money and it's getting whatever units come out of it when you sell it.
Building. Construction complete. Reinforcements have arrived. Building.
So one of the reasons why the Commando sucks, especially with its inherent like C4 infiltration ability where it blows up whatever building, is the fact that when you blow up a building, buildings can sometimes generate an infantry. So what happens if your Commando is super low on health? Dead instantly. And, there's certain levels where the Commando's actually, like, mission critical. Oops.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
I guess I should make mention right now, the song that's currently playing is called Destructible Times by the band I Am, which Frank Klepacki is actually, or was a member, before the band dissolved.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
story goes that this song was specifically requested for a reason we'll see later.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Mission accomplished.